I need more money.
Wow.
We want
do you need?
That's Steve's right. How much are you thinking of now?
What I need is $100,000.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Mediocre Movie Majors.
Welcome back. Yeah, we are here again to talk about movies. We know you missed us.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
It's been a
We've
hot
been kind
minute.
of slacking, I won't lie.
But we're here. We're ready. We've been watching some good stuff. I'm
got
really
lavalier
excited.
mics now.
We've got hopefully better quality mics.
So,
We're starting off with
Ricky Stanicky. We just watched this last night actually, and it was really funny.
genuinely, I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I was going to.
It has such like middle of the road reviews. I thought it was going to be terrible, and
I thought it was going to be
yeah, and
movie.
based on the poster, do you remember a couple months ago when John Cena was like cross-dressing and like the TMZ got like photos of that?
Does
and they
anyone
were like,
remember those photos? Because I do.
This is what that's for. And on the posters, like John Cena dressed as like what, Britney Spears?
Britney Spears.
And,
in the Hit Me Baby One More Time music video.
Yeah, and it's like
The poster is god awful, and it
poster just sets your expectation to be
like a
nothing.
low budget film from the 2000s.
Yeah, it looks like a joke where like it's a weird guy who's like a cross-dresser maybe or something. But no, this is totally a much more funny movie than actually the poster makes it seem.
It is. Do you want to explain it?
Yeah, let me set the setup here. So the film opens with some kids who are like out on Halloween and they like accidentally burn down their neighbor's house, right?
Right.
And
As you do.
yeah, well, it's kids. It's you know. And so quick thinking, one of their jackets catches fire and they throw it to the ground, and one of the kids pulls out a Sharpie and writes a fake name on the inside of the jacket, and he writes Ricky Stanicky, which is like totally a fake name, but the cops buy it, and like none of the kids get in trouble. So then like through like the opening intro animation credit thing, the title sequence, I guess is what someone would call that. They sort of show that they've been using Ricky Stanicky to get away with everything their whole lives.
So
you know?
Ricky Stanicky is like their quote unquote like friend that they blame everything on. They're like, oh, sorry, I can't like hang out with you. I have to like
I have to go to Ricky's, or Ricky bought the weed. It wasn't mine, you know.
Yeah.
And so this movie's just really fun because now they're adults and now they all have wives and girlfriends and responsibilities, but all these lives have been founded off of these lies with Ricky Stanicky.
Yeah, and they're still using
They're
him.
still using him to like get out of stuff and hang out and whatever. And the movie basically they get in a situation where they have to bring like Ricky Stanicky to meet their people who've never met him. So they hire this weird drunk actor named who's like played by John Cena, and it's just a very funny
John
weird,
Cena essentially becomes Ricky Stanicky.
God, John Cena steals the show with this movie.
Oh my God, he's so
This is
good
the
in
most
it.
he's ever acted, I think. Honestly, it's a bit
It's a little bit of
gross.
a boy comedy.
It's a little bit of a boy comedy. There's a couple moments where it's like not necessarily crude, but like I had to look away.
Oh, I mean, it's a
There's
little
a
bit
scene
crude.
where there's a scene
crude.
where they brisk the baby, and that's.
There's a crude, like an element of crude humor in this movie.
But it's funny. I was giggling and hollering the whole time. I thought it was honestly like one of those movies that they don't. That's like they say like you can't make a movie like this nowadays.
Yeah, and
but
me
it's just
too.
no one watches. Yeah. It's fun. I really enjoyed it. Even though I didn't think I would.
I really did it.
If you go in expecting a fun, crude humor, you're gonna have a great time.
I like this more than I thought.
And
I
Zac
would.
Efron was good in it too.
Zac Efron is great in anything that he's ever in.
He did a good job playing like the straight man in this. You know,
He's kind of like he kind of reminds me of like if the kid from The Neighbors grew up.
Yeah.
Because it's the same actor,
It's
but like also like
yeah.
it's that kind of
It's
character.
that same kind of like I'm a responsible guy.
Yeah.
It's like okay.
Yeah. It was fun. I liked it. The movie a lot. I gave it 3.5 bags, and I was between 3.5 and 4.
I gave it the full 4. I thought it was really fun.
I like that Ricky Stanicky, John Cena's character, like
The only reason I
could
didn't give
not
it-
lose at all.
Yeah,
like,
there was a lot of like this movie commits to the bit.
Yeah.
Just simply put, there's a lot of bits in this movie, and the movie just commits 100%, and I love that. Next up, we saw one of the worst movies I've ever seen. God's Not Dead. You probably heard about this. If you haven't, I'm envious. And basically, this is a movie that I fell asleep immediately in, but I will do my best to give a quick sort of plot synopsis, and then we'll move on, because this is a movie about a kid who goes to college, and he's like religious, and he gets a teacher who's like not religious, and then the teacher is just the most evil person ever written.
This
to
was
be.
very
like,
much,
I mean, this guy's worse than like the evil villain from like Hunchback of Notre Dame. This guy is like
the
he's like,
worst.
you need to write on a paper that God is dead, and if you don't, I'm gonna fail you, and I'm gonna make you go into the front of the class and publicly humiliate you.
No, this is what they keep saying. Every single character, the teacher, his girlfriend, like all of his friends,
his family.
They're like, you're committing academic suicide.
Which academic suicide
first of
means
all,
not
by
showing up.
participating in the philosophy class that they're in, by like having an open discussion, because like if he can't convince his teacher that like God is real or whatever,
He can't convince the class. Yeah.
his teacher's gonna like give him a bad grade
An F, a fail.
on like one assignment.
No, he said like 30% of his grade, just immediate zero.
Whatever. Like, that's not academic suicide.
That's just
like,
being a terrible teacher.
The worst thing that happens is that, like, he fails the class and he, like, has to take an extra class next semester. Like, they're literally acting like, because he wants to go to law school. I don't know why I know all this information about this movie. He wants to go to law school.
the whole time.
And
I like bad movies, but this was insufferable to me.
they say if he fails this, like, assignment that he has to do, he's, like, not going to law school. Which makes no sense. That's the movie. Like,
that's the whole movie.
It's really made
They
by,
really made
like,
4 of these.
It's insane there's 4 of them. But it's really made by, like, people that, I mean, there's also, I mean, I guess we should say there's also, like, side
we
plots.
should say, that's, like, the main plot, but there's, like, a billion different characters that don't connect, really, in any way.
They do, but, like, you weren't paying attention.
I was not awake for how they connected. It's very much like a Love Actually, with just, like, cut to a random character you haven't met, here's, like, a random plot. And it's like, okay,
all, like,
and it's all very much in the theme of Jesus is King.
Yeah, it was clearly very, very clearly made by
There's like
a church, like somebody who's like
for sure.
very
Like a pastor,
religious
yeah.
and like wants to like
This is funded by one of those
spread
mega
their
churches.
message of
Oh my God,
like
yeah.
if you don't believe
The
in
thing- the
God,
thing I found
bad
insufferable-
things will happen
the thing-
to you. You'll get cancer. You'll get hit by a car.
The worst thing I saw was when the Muslim girl was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I want to be Christian," and her dad starts like hitting her because he found out she was listening to an audiobook of the Bible.
Yeah,
Like that's just Lifetime over the top.
it's
campy.
very Lifetime movie.
Like that, no one reacts like that in real life.
Like
And
I said,
it's-
his girlfriend broke up with him because he's like doing an assignment for this class.
Yeah, but his girlfriend broke up with him because he wouldn't say that God's dead for a grade, and it's like, no one does that, dude.
This is no, but truly, like I think he might be the worst philosophy teacher of all time.
Oh my God, yeah, he is. Because he'd be saying stuff. He'd be like, so you need to write God is dead. And on the board he has like Nietzsche. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, they're probably referencing Nietzsche. But then like later in the movie, he'll go on to say the reason he doesn't believe in God is because like someone he loved was dying and was like praying to God not to die. And then they died. And it's like, so how could God exist if that would happen? And it's like, dude, literally Nietzsche fucking writes about that in his books. How are you a teacher? How are you a
Philosophy
teacher?
teacher. He sucks so bad, and I also think he might have been dating one of his students. I couldn't figure out who she was for the life of me.
There's just so
don't
much
know what's
plot.
going on.
There's so much plot, and yet at the same time, this movie does nothing. And I just wanted to die, but I got really high and slept through it. So.
Yeah, it was
One
fun.
bag.
I also gave it 1 bag. I think this would be a fun movie to watch. Like if you want to make fun of it, or I don't know, maybe
I don't know if this is a good
really
one to make fun
religious.
of because it will remind you that Christians do this sort of woe is me shit to be like the righteous savior of the
and
world.
I do want to make a point. Like we like personally don't have any like beef with anybody that wants to be whatever religion they want to
celebrate
be.
whatever religion you want. I'm just saying Christians happen to be the most annoying.
We love you all equally. However, like this movie,
Only one of y'all get mega churches and tax breaks.
yeah. Well, that and also just like this movie, like it's supposed to be like spreading a good message, but it like really villainizes people that like
Don't
aren't.
believe in God.
Yeah.
And it's like it says it's like love your neighbor,
But if she doesn't believe in God, she's dying of cancer.
make sure to like paint. Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, moving on.
I hated that movie. I like bad movies too. I love
Goof and
Gremlins too. It's actually one of my favorite movies of all
However,
time.
this one kind of like there's like that horseshoe kind of thing.
It's just so bad it's bad.
This one falls into so bad it's bad. But if I maybe had a couple drinks in me, it could have been more fun.
Anyways, I feel like we talked about it way longer than it should have.
Next.
Next, we got Waiting for Guffman, which is actually a really funny movie.
Holy crap, you guys. The cast in this movie has never... I don't know. This is my Avengers Endgame.
It really is. It just has like all the funny people that you've ever seen in like sitcoms and like Adult
Catherine
Swim.
Rupprecht, Fred Willard, Parker Posey, Larry Miller, Michael Hitchcock, Eugene Levy.
David Cross. Like, they just have, like, everyone.
I forgot
He was in it for, like, a scene. It's insane. Anyway.
This is Parks and Rec.
This episode it's a 90-minute version of a Parks and Rec episode. It's so good.
It's about a small town in Missouri that is putting on a play. And that's really all you need to know.
And the play is about the 150th anniversary of the town. And it's just so funny. Like, I don't think I could recommend this movie enough. You should watch this. This is like my recommendation for this episode.
It's such an easy watch. It's so
it's totally like they do interviews to the camera,
on.
Office style. Like, it's a very fun movie, and you either get the joke or you don't laugh. Like, you either laugh or you don't laugh. It's not going to patronize you. You know, it's a movie.
And
it's a
I
fun
think
time.
it's great because it hits on, like, if you like musical theater, you'll have a fun time with this movie because it's like about them putting on a musical, but it's also like making fun of that kind of culture.
Oh, totally.
Because it's like very much small town, no budget, like not a lot of talent. No offense to them, but like they're doing their best, but it's not a professional show that they're putting on, and I think that's the gaff of it.
And it's just so funny because it's like if you've ever seen anyone make art, or if you've ever been to like a school play before, it's you'll be able to
relate to it
and
or
it's so
get
funny.
it. You can be in their shoes, but you can also like be on the outside and be like LMAO.
Yeah, you can still find this funny without understanding it, like I did.
Oh my god.
Apparently, the title "Waiting for Guffman" is a reference to "Waiting for Godot."
Yes.
I don't know what that is. So,
let's just say if you guys get it, you get it.
If you get it, you don't. You know, it's still fun. It's still its own
critic that's coming to see their play,
and it's good. I gave it 4 bags.
I also gave it 4 bags. I really like this one, and I think that would probably be our winner of the week, coming right off of the stinker of the week. Got it.
Honestly, you're dead right about that. So next up is one of. I don't know if it's a movie. This is a
is one of the movies.
This is anime. Okay, this isn't Studio Ghibli though. This is Cowboy Bebop the movie.
Anime.
Cowboy Bebop the movie is a really interesting movie because it came out like 2 years after the show ended, but the show ends with the end of the narrative, so they kind of had to like fit this into like the show timeline anywhere. Like, it's just like an episode of the show.
It's like a long episode of the show.
90 minutes or 115 minutes.
Yeah, I'm going to let you, like, take over. Like, I don't really know a lot of the Cowboy Bebop lore. I had a lot of fun with this because
It's great because you don't need to.
Yeah, well, I was just about to say, like, I know, like, the general characters. And
it helps to know the characters.
Everything like that. But, like, for the most part, you don't really need to know a lot of that. Like, you kind of just can go into it and, like, enjoy the story.
Yeah, some setup.
Like, the independent story.
Some context for this. Catherine and I watched the first half of the show, like, a year ago. So she kind of is familiar with the characters, but not, like, has them now down, you know? So, like, it's a good way to, like, enjoy, like, you kind of know the characters before going into it, but if you don't, the film sets them up.
Yeah.
So, like, it introduces everyone to their own level, and it's good. It's its own good standalone anime movie. I mean, it helps to know the whole context, because there's a lot of ties to the show. Like, kind of, like, you can see some similarities. I mean, there's more, there's a lot more layers to it, but it's still a good movie. I thought it was fun. If you like Cowboy Bebop, if you like Akira, or like anything like that, it's vaguely sci-fi, not so distant future.
This movie if you like Cowboy Bebop,
like Akira, or like For me, I love anything that has jazz and cigarettes. That's what makes a good anime. So
it's definitely got like a good anime vibe to it.
Fuck, I love the music in this fucking series.
Do-do-do.
Every song, man. I just, so good. I'm gonna make you finish
Spike.
that show now.
I think he's fun.
Spike.
Oh, that was really good. I had a fun time with this, and I'm not really like the biggest like anime girly.
I really don't. I'm not a huge fan of anime. I specifically hate anime fans.
You my
brother's a weeb, so I have some
aware
connection.
of the world of anime than I am.
Yeah.
For me, I was just like, it's a movie that, you know what I mean.
Anyway, it was fun to watch this. That was a good bit of dopamine. 4 bags. Can't give it the full 5.
I gave it 4 bags also. We've been really agreeing this week, I feel like.
Yeah, and it's like we're getting a lot of 4 bags, you know?
Yeah.
Next up, we got Sleepless in Seattle. I really liked this. It took me way too long of a time to watch this.
We watched this over like 3 days because there was just a lot.
There was a lot happening in my own personal life.
There was a lot going on outside of this movie.
I was not sleepless. I was very sleepy.
We were sleepy in New York, yes. It just took us forever to finish this movie. It's not anything against this movie. It just, we had a lot going on.
And like, we just watched You Got Mail. We just watched You Got Mail.
Which we'll talk about,
which is like,
if we get to it.
The same movie, basically.
It is kind of crazy to go from, well, I guess we'll talk about it if we get into it, but You've Got Mail is the same two main actors and the same director, and so it
feels very samey.
It feels very samey, and it's very, very strange to like see them like in another universe.
Different characters and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like a different story, but it just
if you guys
felt.
don't know, this is Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks, my rom-com king and queen. It's so weird because like it's hard to even call this a rom-com because the plot of this movie is like Tom Hanks's wife.
Yeah, it's weird to like. I was not in support of like any of the plot of this movie.
Okay, Tom Hanks's wife
Dies.
is dead. Like she's dead, and essentially his son calls into a radio show and is
On
like
Christmas
Eve, or maybe Christmas night. I don't remember.
Whatever.
It doesn't matter. He calls in and he's like, "Hey,
I wish I had a new mom.
My dad needs to marry somebody." Through the whole thing, Tom Hanks ends up being very vulnerable on this radio show. He's like talking about what it's like to have a dead wife.
Yeah, it's kind of like, hey, I
And-
don't think I'll be able to love someone immediately, and he gets very open.
Meg, and through that, like the entire country like falls in love with him through hearing him talk on this radio show.
You're like, oh my god, this man really loved his wife. I
Because
wish he would
like,
love me like his dead wife.
he talks like very openly, and I guess like
That's attractive.
it truly is, but like women are going crazy because they're like, oh my god, a man showing his emotions. That's insane. So Meg Ryan, who is by the way engaged to be married, falls so deeply in love with him that she like tracks him down in Seattle.
She like cyberstalks him.
Yeah, she like finds him and like
Goes to
tries
his
to like
house.
talk to, yeah. They don't end up like meeting until later in the movie because she writes him a letter and she's like, let's meet in New York. By the way, neither of them live in New York. They're bi-coastal. No, they don't get into it. She ends up meeting him like at the end of the movie, but it's all through this like very much like he knows nothing about her. She, besides like the one letter that she wrote to him, and she knows like the one time that he talked on the radio, but like somehow they're made for each other. And like maybe that's the beauty of a rom-com, but at the same time I find there to be a little bit of a plot hole.
It just, I wasn't rooting for them at all. Like I was rooting for them in You Got Mail.
Yeah.
And it's like other movies
They
I can
have
root
more
for the
chemistry in
rom-com.
You've Got Mail.
But it's just like
It's true.
two people that have never met, that don't know what each other look like, that haven't even talked to each other.
Because truly,
Because
to
it's
be
not,
honest
it's not
with
even
you,
his kid that responds. It's not even him that responds to
It's
the
the
letter.
kid.
It's his kid that responds
the
to the letter.
kid reads the letter and is like, that's mom.
The reason he goes to New York to meet her isn't to meet her; it's to get his kid
No,
back.
that's true. He doesn't even go there to meet her. He's
He's not
there
like, oh, I'm gonna
because
meet this stranger who's obsessed with me that I
his
want to give it a try.
kid is like my mom.
His
like,
kid ran away to New York to go meet this woman,
Yeah.
and he's like, I gotta go get my fucking kid. Like he could be in danger. I'm sorry. It's
That's
like
the truth, actually. Like, he didn't even want to meet her at all. His kid wanted him to
And
meet her.
I know the whole reason they're meeting in New York is a reference to an older rom-com from like the 50s or 60s or
I
whatever.
do find that part beautiful.
But like, okay.
This one...
Just remake that movie then.
Had fun, but...
For how famous the title Sleepless in Seattle was, I was kind of disappointed. This was definitely one of the more forgettable, boring, generic rom-coms,
It
in my
felt-
opinion. That was hard to root for. So I gave it 3 bags. It was very middle of the road.
I'd give it 3.5
was well
bags.
made.
It was, it's a well-made movie. It's just like,
I like the diorama of the
if I
flying.
wanted to watch a Nora
the
Ephron
little-
movie,
like
if
the
I
map.
wanted to watch a Tom Hanks movie, I would just watch You've Got Mail. Anyways,
Next up, we got GoldFinger.
GoldFinger. So I am a big fan of Austin Powers, and I've seen Goldmember.
Which I haven't seen.
So watching Goldfinger, I was like, oh my god.
That's where you get that from. That's why it's British.
Yeah, we found out in an earlier episode that James Bond is British.
Yeah.
Nobody told me
We're not
that.
rehashing that one.
But this was who is this? Sean Connery.
with an open fist.
Because we've watched.
With an open
I
fist.
think now I've seen the Pierce Brosnan ones. I've seen
Sean Connery and
yeah,
Daniel Craig
yeah,
one.
Yeah.
And Sean Connery's the original. Like, he's the first James Bond.
Yeah.
And that's why it's like, okay, that's some fun and charm to it. This was probably my first Sean Connery Bond film I saw as a kid.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to watch GoldenEye, and I accidentally watched Goldfinger instead.
I mean, that's actually really funny.
And it was good. Like, I enjoyed it. Like, I was like, oh, this is a good movie. It was, like, fine.
Yeah, it's a fun
I
James
love the
Bond
character
movie.
name Pussy Galore.
Insane. Moneypenny is a great name too.
Well, she's a staple character. She's in everyone.
I know, but I just love that name.
Pussy Galore, she's the Bond girl for this movie. She probably never makes an appearance again.
My mom calls Pennywise Moneypenny, and I think that's really funny.
Yeah.
And Pussy Galore is a
I just like these old campy Bond movies because they're so ripe with that like Cold War paranoia, and they're like, well, see, we have here in the West, we have this supercar that can shoot bullets and injector seats, and we have like oil slicks, and it's like, yeah, no, we don't have any of that shit. we're just pretending, and then ship these DVDs over to Russia.
I
scare
love
them
the
a little.
campiness of these films.
It's so good, and like I'd be down to watch more of the old ones if you don't mind the casual misogyny.
Yeah, but honestly, Pussy Galore kind of slays. Like she's like kind of like
yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like even in the 40s, the femme fatale is like an archetype that's usually pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's
fun. It's camp. I don't know what you want me to say.
It's so campy.
James Bond. He almost blows up, but then he doesn't. There's a guy with a hat. That,
my god, Odd Job! I fucking love Odd Job when they throw a gold bar at him and he doesn't even flinch.
That's what I'm saying.
He's so cool.
It's so good.
And then like the laser going up to his crotch slowly. Like iconic. This is the movie that invented
Iconic,
that. Anyway, 4.5. This is a movie from my childhood. Like. So good.
I'm more of a fan of like the older, campier James Bond movies than I am like the newer,
the Daniel Craig ones. Like I thought Casino Royale was a good movie.
They're good movies. It's just like James Bond is supposed to be like fun.
I don't know if I would say they're all good movies. Casino Royale is a good movie. Quantum of Solace and Onward.
I didn't see any of those.
Those you saw one of those. Remember you said you saw Skyfall or something?
Oh, I did.
Yeah, and those are like fine, but they're too serious. They're like a rip-off Jason Bourne. The old James Bond movies had such a personality and vibe and campy charm and a one-liner after doing something cool. Like, the new ones are fine. I just wish they would go back to that era.
Yeah, let's bring back the camp.
As much as I loved Casino Royale, again, that's a great film. Honest to God. Okay, one more movie because this is a short episode because we both have shit to do today. We're going to conclude with You've Got Mail.
This is the movie.
We already watched this one time, but I guess I didn't log it. So.
We watched it once, but I'm pretty sure you fell asleep almost immediately. And then I put it back on my list for you to pick off. And you were like, we've watched this before. And I asked you to tell me like one plot line from it.
I got it confused with Lost in Translation and the scene in Bruce Almighty where he's emailing everyone and like fulfilling their prayers on his computer.
That is so random.
Yeah, I thought this was that movie.
No. Okay, that makes more sense because I feel like at one point you were like, I thought Jim Carrey was in this, and I was like, why on earth would you think Jim Carrey?
Because he's like responding to the GIF with him typing. You've got mail.
I know what you're talking about, but like I didn't put that together at all until right now.
This actually isn't a movie about the internet, really. It's more of a movie about bookstores.
So
kind of a bad title if you ask me.
No, it's a perfect title.
It's kind of a bad title.
You have Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan.
No. Okay. Hang on. So as much as I appreciate the whole plot of like they're each other's pen pal buddy and they don't know that, that's kind of the back burner plot to this plot of like she works at a small bookstore and he works at a big bookstore and they're kind of the battle of bookstores.
But they don't know.
The books thing isn't relayed in the title or the poster at all.
But it's about how like even though they have rival bookstores, their love comes from the fact that they're talking through like AOL Messenger and like that's how they're like communicating with each other.
I agree.
They don't know
I just
in
wish.
real life that they've met and that they have beef because Tom Hanks is a big bookstore boy.
There's a lot,
and she's a little cute little indie bookstore.
I thought this film was very interesting to watch after the death of Barnes and Noble because like who reads books anymore nowadays, right? Lol.
I mean, no, the whole thing is crazy,
and it's insane because it's also like the film has a certain level of like hypocrisy to it where they're exchanging like information through the digital messenger. They're not writing physical letters and mailing it anymore. Who uses snail mail? You know what I mean? And so that's kind of not even reflected on the whole them working at a bookstore, which is a little weird.
No, but it's
kind of talking about how the bookstores
and
like
it's kind of
it's
talking
that
about
weird
that
period.
weird transitional period because at the end she has this like little indie bookstore and she has to close it because it's not making enough
because the big bookstore is coming to kill it.
Big bookstore is coming to kill it. And I think that the like idea is that like there's not a lot of security even in that big bookstore like in the future.
But the filmmakers didn't know that.
But the filmmakers
like the people made the film. Yeah, it's like just around the corner. And so there's like a touch of irony to the whole thing, which I thought was like the most interesting part that was also completely unintentional by the film.
Or
Maybe it was intentional. Maybe they knew the future.
Maybe
they were really on that tech shit, but it feels like they didn't. It feels completely incidental. But nevertheless, it's still there, and it is still an interesting part of this movie. That like whole like technology age versus like the print media.
Oh, absolutely.
No, like I was saying in the Sleepless in Seattle, I liked their synergy in this, and I liked the characters
They
they
have
both
more
played.
chemistry in this one.
I loved how they related to each other and talked, and just like everything about this was a much more satisfying rom-com than Sleepless in Seattle.
So
if you'd ask
good.
me.
Honestly, one of my favorites. I love this movie. I love everything that's going on here, and I think we were talking about this when we were watching the movie, but I think that this is one of those movies that does an amazing job of romanticizing what it's like to live in New York, which you don't always get. You get a lot of like
very
New
Friends
York.
way. It does it in a very Friends
like
way.
like mid like upper class, Upper West Side,
Like casually wealthy.
Yeah,
And just
But,
like,
I mean,
look, everyone's nice because we all have money.
You see her kind of like struggle with like this bookstore and not being able to keep it open.
Yeah, but do we ever see her struggling like economically?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like she struggles with the bookstore. She can't keep the bookstore open
Well,
because
so we're
that's like
told.
her business and I all that stuff.
We don't see like the
But-
bookstore having a big sale to try and get
Yeah,
customers.
they do. That's like a part of the movie. They
Oh,
do a bunch of marketing to get people to like try to come. It's like a big part of the movie.
Oh. Yeah, I gave it 3 bags though. It
a
was a fun movie.
I'm not joking. I gave it 5 bags.
That's insane, but I love you for that.
I don't know why. Every time I watch this movie, like I'm just like, this is perfect.
I need to read my Letterboxd review of the movie, and then I'm going to read the comment you left on it.
Okay.
I said, but for real, books got done dirty. Even this story wasn't a book, it was a movie. Laughing emoji. And you commented, your mind's about to be blown when you find out what this movie was based on.
I mean, it's true. There's irony for you there, though. Like turning a book about like bookstores.
Getting closed into a movie. And
Wow.
then, yeah, I know. That's why it's funny. There's like a lot of that. Like I have to maybe see this a second time to really
Let's watch it
digest
again.
it. It's gonna need a minute.
Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. We hope you guys are having an amazing day.
I hope you guys enjoyed our opinions on cinema and
And
movies.
if you didn't,
and if you
shut up.
yeah,
Like,
how
I don't
about
know
maybe
what-
try the next episode?
Yeah,
all right,
like,
maybe we'll be smarter then.
Make your own podcast. Damn.
Feel free to follow us on Letterboxd in the description if you want to see reviews sooner than we get the chance
All
to
of our
like
links are
narrate
in
them.
the bio, so
Check them out. We do other stuff too. And thank you again for listening. We'll be back soon with another one. And
Bye.
here's to more season 2.